Let's look at the last four questions on 9.3. Here we're going to switch things up. We want to know what the solutions are. Sorry, if we're given the solutions, we want to know what the equation is, okay? So we've seen that if we have an equation in this form, that we have solutions of 4 and -5. So we're going to use that to build some solutions, all right? So we're going to be given the solutions, we're going to make factors, and we want to write out what the equations are. So here we have two solutions. We got an equation that has a solution of -4 and 3/5. So we want to build a factored equation that has these solutions. Well, if we have a factor of x plus 4, then that will give us a solution of -4. And we have a factor of x minus 3/5. Even though it's a fraction, this works. There you have it. So this equation has these two solutions because these things make these factors 0. So the question is to write this in standard form. So what we just have to do now is we have to do some distribution. So we're going to distribute this out. We get x squared minus 3/5 x. Then we've got 4x and 4 times -3/5 is going to be -12/5. If you want to think of this as 4 over 1, you can. It's going to be 12/5. And that equals 0. Now, if you don't like all of these 5s, what you can do is we can multiply both sides by 5. Multiply by the common denominator, distribute that out. That's going to give us 5x squared. And 5 times 3/5 is going to cancel out the 5. So that's going to be 3x. And 5 times 4 is 20x. And 5 times 12/5 is 12. On the right side, 5 times 0 over here is 0. So now we'll simplify. We've got 5x squared. And this is 17x minus 12 equals 0. So there's the equation that has the two solutions given there. Let's try that again. All right. What about some square roots? Does this work with square roots? Well, we're going to write our factors. X minus 3 square root of 2 times x plus 3 square root of 2. And that has to equal 0. Let's go ahead and distribute this out. We get x squared. We get plus 3 square root of 2x when we multiply these guys. Inside, we're going to get minus 3 square root of 2x. And then we get, let's multiply carefully here. We get -3 times 3, so it's going to be -9. And the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, well, let's write that as a square root of 4. These guys go away because they're opposites. Then we have an x squared minus, now this is 9 times, the square root of 4 is 2, so 9 times 2 is 18. There's our equation. So this equation has the two solutions given. And we can do this for imaginary numbers as well. So if we have x plus 3, nope, let's back that up. Let's make that x minus 3i. Because if you put 3i into here, you have 3i minus 3i. That makes this 0. And we're going to set this whole thing equal to 0. And this is going to be x plus 3i. Now, if we multiply this out, we get x squared. We get x times 3i. That's 3ix. We get minus 3ix. And we get minus 9i squared. These guys cancel in the middle. And if you remember, I squared is -1, right? So I squared is equal to -1. So this is going to be -9 times -1, which is +9. So this is 9, and that equals 0. Let's see, we should write it this way. Bring this 0 down here. There's our equation. So, works for radicals, works for imaginary numbers. And this would even work if we have more than two terms. What makes this, we want this whole thing to be equal to 0. So we need x plus 1, because if you put negative 1 in here, this is 0. Then we need a factor of 0. Well, how about we do x minus 0? That works, why not? And then we have x minus 2. So if we put negative 1 in here, this whole thing becomes 0. If we put 0 in, this becomes 0. And 2 makes this 0. Now, this guy, let's go ahead and take this out. X minus 0 is just x. So we have x plus 1 times x minus 2. That whole thing equals 0. Now we're just going to multiply this out. So if we multiply these two here, I'm just going to leave the x alone for now. We get x squared minus 2x plus 1x minus 2, which is x squared minus, these guys make minus 1x minus 2. This whole thing equals 0. Distribute this out, and we get 0 equals x to the third minus x squared minus 2x, and we are done. So that's the key there. That's how we find an equation if we know the two solutions or more than two solutions. There's one example on the bottom there. We'll save that for another day. We can live without that for now. Hope that helps.